It's the midweek edition of Weather for Weather Geeks, final day of March in 2021, and what a topsy-turvy pattern we're in as we exit March and head into the month of April. Today was quite a bit cooler than yesterday, and tomorrow will be quite a bit cooler than today. Let's start out this evening with a look just before 7 p.m. at 224 Market Street in Boardman, and things are quiet. It has clouded back up over the last hour or so after a decent amount of sunshine did emerge during the second half of the afternoon. All right, we're in the middle of a kind of a loopy pattern this week, but it was a lot crazier during this week back in 1987. Now, on the 29th of March, 1987, it got into the mid-70s. Just 2 days later, on today's date that year, 10.1 inches of snow, and then a few days later, we had about a foot worth of snow on the 4th day of April in 1987. Springtime in 1987 was quite a time to be alive in our region as far as the weather progressed that year. Nothing like that this year. In fact, for the second consecutive year, March is going to be remarkably snow-free. We only had a trace last March in 2020, and March of 2021, 0.1, and that was on the very first day of the month. Otherwise, a couple of trace amounts here and there, but otherwise zeros on this graphic for the rest of March, putting us 10.6 inches below the average for the month. Temperature-wise, no surprise here. It was a pattern flip from February after a very cold February. This was a top 10 warm March. We've now had a week and a half worth of high temperatures above the average, dating all the way back to the 20th. And the most consistently chilly weather compared to the average was right at the beginning of the month. After that, the warmer than average days have far outnumbered the cooler than average days. All right, so we're a month into meteorological spring. Tomorrow on April 1st, our average high is 53. By May 1st, our average high is up to 65 degrees. What's April looking like this year? This is the final April forecast from the Climate Prediction Center. And no surprise, for much of the country, warmer than average temperatures are favored. Now, not every day is going to be warmer than average. In fact, I think there's some cooler risks around mid-month. But next week looks pretty balmy, and the month as a whole will probably come out in the wash as warmer than average. Precipitation-wise, there's not much of a signal at this point. It could go either way. It could be wetter than average, it could be drier than average, or very near average. There's not a definitive signal at this point pointing one way or the other. So the precipitation compared to average forecast is kind of a lower confidence forecast overall than the temperature forecast. All right, we gained a lot of daylight in March, that is for sure, and that trend, of course, continues in April. During the month of March, we gained an hour and 25 minutes of daylight. In April, we gained an hour and 18 minutes of daylight. The daily increase in daylight's a little bit slower, of course, as we get deeper into spring, but it's still pretty rapid during the middle of meteorological spring. All right, March is ending on a fairly quiet note here weather-wise. That's going to change some, of course, overnight into tomorrow. Most of the action is off to our south and east. A little bit of rain is trying to re-emerge to our southwest. Some of this is not even hitting the ground, but some of this is going to try to come northward over the next handful of hours and bring us a chilly, damp end to March and start to April. Where the growing season has officially begun, there are freeze warnings out tonight, and this includes some of the far southern counties in Ohio, parts of West Virginia, the entire state of Kentucky, and the entire state of Tennessee under a freeze warning, because of course the growing season starts down there a little bit sooner. Freeze watches are also out down in parts of the deep south. Our growing season, of course, has not officially begun, won't officially begin for a few more weeks. The average date of the last freeze in our area is towards the very end of the month of April, and in some places even into early May, especially in western PA. 45, the 7 p.m. temperature locally. It's colder to our north and west, and the colder air mass will continue to intensify overnight tonight. And with that will come a change from maybe just a little bit of a wintry mix this evening, roads will just be wet, to snow showers and flurries overnight. Now, this is not going to add up to a whole lot, but if you're heading off to work first thing tomorrow morning, in some communities, you might have to brush off the windshield if your car is out all night tonight. Some elevated, non-paved surfaces could have a little candy coating tomorrow morning, but overall it's going to be pretty low impact. Higher impact, I think, is going to be the wind and the cold. If your job requires you to work outside, you're going to have to dress like it's the middle of winter tomorrow with wind chills in the teens throughout the day. This is no fun to see on April 1st, but hey, it's better on a Thursday than over the weekend, for most people anyway. The snowfall trends have been going in the downward direction over the last 12 to 24 hours. Here's a current look at the odds of 2 inches or more worth of snow, with the lake enhancement coming our way late tonight into tomorrow. All these odds are pretty low. Once you get down into the yellow and pale green colors here, 5, 10%, all pretty low. Chances of more than a couple of inches do increase as you head across I-80 and across the PA Turnpike into the higher terrain of central PA. The model spread has definitely tightened for the heart of our viewing area, all under an inch at this point. So the possibility, I think, of some random spots getting up to a couple of inches has decreased. Can it be totally ruled out? No, but it's pretty low chance. I think at this point, a candy coating to at most a half an inch, maybe up to an inch, should just about do it. These dashed black lines on our weather map tomorrow, a couple of upper-level disturbances will come down through the lakes and kick up a couple of rounds of flurries and snow showers. One is late tonight, first thing tomorrow morning. Then I think we get a midday lull, and then the second one comes in mid-afternoon, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock. And again, roads will be fine, but this could, whiten the ground in a few spots, especially elevated surfaces and colder surfaces, but again, roads should do just fine. I mentioned this last evening, the incoming solar radiation on April 1st is the same as September 10th. It's really hard for snow to stick during the day at this time of the year unless it comes down at a really, really intense clip. All right, this last disturbance cruises through then tomorrow afternoon. The sky will gradually clear tomorrow night, and then it's going to be a brighter day on Friday. Plenty of sunshine for the afternoon, but definitely a chill in the air with a northwest flow on Friday, no higher than 40 or 41 Friday afternoon. Better things are coming over the weekend as that high slides off to the south. We'll get into more of a southwesterly wind on Saturday with a warm front pushing in, and it looks pretty delightful Saturday afternoon and certainly for Easter Sunday. A seasonable Saturday with highs in the mid-50s, but then we'll do mid-60s for Easter Sunday. Incidentally, we did mid-60s on Easter Sunday last year, and the warming trend will continue into early on next week. I think we're going to see 70 a few times next week, but then in the longer range, say in the 10 to 15 day period, kind of as we head towards mid-April, I think there's going to be a cooler, more active pattern that does settle in. All right, that'll do it for me tonight. Thanks for watching this extended edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you tonight on 21 News at 11 p.m. and anytime on the Storm Tracker 21 app.